Hello and welcome back to Yacht Buyer 360. Today I'm on board the Sunseeker Predator 55 and I'm going to give you a full walkthrough tour. If you're not familiar with the 360 format, you are in control of what you look at. I'm just going to walk you through and you can move the screen with your mouse or your finger or tilt a tablet or phone and you can look in any direction, look at whatever you like as I walk you through the boat. So let's get going. So the Predator 55 is the entry-level model in the Sunseeker Predator range. That's their sports cruiser range. There is a sport yacht version of this, which has got a sports bridge, sort of small flybridge on top. This is an out-and-out sports cruiser. And we're going to start at the bow, because it's a great view of this boat and you can get a good look at that sunroof, which is such an important part of the formula. But what strikes me about this area is how practical it is, and it starts at deck level. So if you now just pan down, I'm going to look down at the deck because I want to show you these anchor lockers, which are split, but they've also got almost a false floor in them. So they're shallow enough that you don't lose things in there when you want to use them for storage, but you can pull out that false floor and then you have access to the chain below, and it's a really deep locker. And you have those on both sides. That's the control down there for the remote windlass. And then the other really practical feature up here is underneath this very nice raised sun pad is there's a huge amount of storage. I can do this with one hand, it's quite heavy, but it's on gas rams. So that lifts up, and then you can see you've got this really useful deep drained storage well. Great for covers, fenders, bulkier bits of kit, really easy to access. And then when it's down, you can see it's a long way off the deck, so you have to clamber down to get onto it. And then these three cushions here all pop up so that you've got backrests if you want to sit up rather than lie flat. And of course, after that, you have your table and a sofa. So it makes it much more of a living area. You've also got repeaters down here for the Fusion stereo system, some lighting, a charging socket as well, so you can charge devices up here. It's really well kitted out, and there's also sockets and 4 points in the deck here so that you can mount a canopy shade if you're just sunbathing in the real heat of the day. You can get a bit of protection up here. And just check out this windscreen as well. Single piece windscreen, enormous piece of glass, nicely curved, and you can see how it sort of seamlessly links with that sunroof, which has also got glass in it. We're going to see the effect of that better from inside. Let's head aft now. We've got symmetrical side decks. Guardrails feel a little bit low. They're coming up to just above my knee, but you've got lovely high tow rails. Antique decks on this boat, that's an option, but that feels really safe and secure to move down. And actually I'm going to go right down to the bathing platform and then work back up again. It's symmetrical access down to the bathing platform as well, so you have access from both sides of the cockpit. Now what we have down here is both a hydraulic bathing platform that sinks down into the water and a big tender garage. Now this boat shares a platform with the Super Hawk 55, the really sporty version. That has space for a Williams mini jet. This has got space for a bigger tender, a Williams 325. But that is a really decent size, and yeah, the Williams 325 is a really good tender. So it's nice that you've got space for that in here. On top of that, it's set very high to account for the tender garage below, but you have got a sun pad right back here, which is completely clear of the overhang. So if you want to do some serious sunbathing, this is where you'll be. I'll just show you the other side. See, we've got drawers there, giving access to shore power points, that sort of thing. There's also a deck shower, and you can see the lovely teak that they fitted on this model. Really nice and thick, high quality stuff. And then if we move around to the other side, if you do have a passerelle spec, if you're going to take this boat to the Mediterranean, then it comes out of this top step. There's a cassette there, and that's where the passerelle emerges from when you want to get onto the quayside. Moving up into the cockpit, you'll note this sort of British flag design in the transom gates, which is quite cool, quite subtle, but a nice addition. And then you have all your mooring gear here, built-in fairleads, winches, and you've also got obviously your cleats to tie off the lines, but the winches can tighten your lines from back here, and they've got rope bins too. So you can put the rope tails down into bins on both sides to keep the deck nice and tidy. Here you've got your switches for the hydraulic bathing platform, the tender garage, and then the Bessonzoni passerelle, which this boat has clearly got fitted. Moving to the cockpit itself, one of the nice elements about this is that although it's wraparound seating, you have got this gap so you can walk through and get onto the port side deck. So they haven't fully connected this area, just meaning you're not having to clamber over seats to get from deck to deck. So you've got this transom bench here, which connects to that sun pad we saw earlier on, and incidentally, as an option, I'm just looking forward now to the overhang above the Sunseeker badge. There's a bimini that pops out of there to give this whole area shade. Especially nice if you're having lunch, for example. Hot day, you've got some shade here for when you're eating, which is nice. And it's nice how this L-shaped seating is tucked into the corner with protection from that window. So even when you're moving along, you know, this boat's got a 35 knot top speed. It's a planing boat. It's designed to go quite quickly. You should be really nice and sheltered in that corner. The big central table, that opens up to double in size for when you are dining. And it also slides on its mechanism as well. So you can move it closer to the transom bench if you need to. And that is served by an optional wet bar. Actually, the wet bar is standard. I believe the grill is an option, but that's a really nice option to have. It means you can cook out here, don't have to always rely on the galley, and it means you can be out here cooking with your guests, and you're outside, not stuck inside the boat. Large bin underneath, and then this is just a sort of safety locker, fire suppression, fuel shut off, and then another option to have the ice maker here. And you can see you've got switches for lighting and another repeater for the Fusion stereo here. So all very easily to hand. So you've got this dark black gel coat, contrasts really strongly with the white hull. It is a really striking looking boat, this. Nice profile. Just hovering the cockpit here, so you can have a bit of a look around before we head inside and check out the interior. Right, let's head inside then. It's a really modern, striking interior. There's some new design details on here that I've not seen on Sunseeker before, so we can explore those as we go through. The first of all is this really quite cool pattern on the sofa. I'm sure that will divide opinion, but I think that looks really nice. If that was just plain, you know, sort of white or cream or grey, it would look quite bland, but it just adds a little bit of interest, and you've got the nice pop of the scatter cushions as well. I think it looks great, really modern, and it's so bright in here. You've got these big sliding doors aft. Obviously you can see they slide all the way that way. So yeah, it connects nicely to the cockpit. And there are a few layout options on this boat, galley up or galley down. I'll talk a bit more about those when we go downstairs actually. Obviously this boat's got the galley up arrangement. If you do have the galley down, you just get a sofa on the starboard side. I think it works really well on this size boat to have the galley up. But if you do want to look at the different layouts, go to yachtbuyer.com. Find the Sunseeker page. I'll put a link in the description below, and you can have a look at this boat in great detail, including layout plans, and you can compare it directly to its rivals. Focusing specifically on the galley, you've got the big sink there. You know, 2-burner hob, arguably maybe a 4-burner would be useful, but you know, 2 is probably fine for most people. Oven and microwave down below, and then a big TV. So that also swings out. It's on a pivot arm, so it can swing out to face the cockpit, so that people can watch the TV out there, and you've got storage above. And actually storage is a big focus. You can see the drawers underneath. This is the fridge, under-counter fridge, which on its own doesn't look enough, but as you'll see later on, they've done a good job with some extra cooling space downstairs. These big drawers, I won't open them all, but just to show you how far these go back, because they extend underneath the helm seats. So drawers like that are actually a lot deeper than they may seem. And they've actually put the bin, it's almost full depth inside the counter there. Again, quite handy to be able to get to that so easily and empty it so easily, obviously. No table in here, though I believe that's an option. I think, you know, this is a med-style boat in many respects, so you're probably going to be doing most of your dining outside, but it's nice to have this footstool here. It's got storage in it as well. However, if you wanted something more permanent, I believe that's an option. And then we arrive at the helm station, which I think looks absolutely great. I think this is a new design. This boat was launched at Cannes in 2024, so it's, you know, really quite a new model, and this is a new helm design, and I think it looks the absolute business. Sunseeker have done a great job of just bringing everything close to the person at the helm. The screens are upright, the controls are nice and close to you. You've got your joystick, obviously it's an IPS boat, IPS950, so 725 horsepower per side. You've got a remote for the MFDs behind the throttles. And then that little silver, almost BMW iDrive-esque wheel is to control these little dials down here. You know, they don't offer much more in terms of information over what's in your screens, but they just look great. And it means you can permanently have things up like the rudder angle or the depth, and you can switch through those and choose speed or whatever you like. But they look really classy, and it's nice that you've got some separate information to the twin Garmin MFDs. 1 MFD is standard, 2 is an extra. The second one is well worth having, just gives you so much more flexibility with what's presented on the screens. You can see this boat's got a seakeeper fitted as an option, And then down here, this is the CM8 system. So this is all the digital switching. All the boat systems can be seen and controlled from here. You can see I've got the energy supply up at the moment. It's telling me that I'm on shore power. It's telling me how much energy we're using. If you switch the generator, it would do the same thing. It's a really nice system that Sunseeker have been using it for a long time, and it works really well. But it's not all contained in screens. You can see there's some nice buttons down here. Got the Predator name etched out in the stainless steel. And then some buttons for things like windscreen wipers, horn, lighting, and of course, opening the sunroof. And here we arrive at a really important part of the Predator design. Look at that roof, carbon fibre, 4 big panes of glass. So even when it's closed on a slightly grey day like this, you're getting loads of natural light. And then at the touch of a button, it opens up. And it comes back a long way, and when it's open, it feels really open. And this to me is the beauty of this style of boat. You can use it all year round if you want to keep it in Northern Europe and keep the roof closed, but then on a nice day, in seconds, you get that roof back and you're really in touch with the elements. I'll just stick the camera up so you can see how wide that aperture is. It's absolutely huge. You can look around now, look down and have a bit of a look around, but look at the size of that aperture. It's brilliant, it's totally transformative. And it's something you don't get with the sport yacht version. You get a flybridge, you do not get this enormous sunroof. And I think it makes this boat such a viable option, you know, all season effectively. They've executed it really, really well. And before we head away from the helm, I should probably talk about performance. As I said, IPS-950, 725 horsepower per side, topping out at 35 knots, designed to cruise at about 25 knots, and you're likely to get, you know, depending on conditions, about 250 nautical miles of range. Really par for the course for this style of boat. Before we do head downstairs, one last big practical feature. Oh, look at that storage space. Really handy. It feels like they designed this boat to be lived aboard. You know, it's stylish, it's sporty, but with all the storage we've seen elsewhere and this type of stuff, it's like, okay, you could live on this 55-footer, you know, 4 of you really comfortably for a couple of weeks, absolutely no problem. And talking of that, let's head downstairs and have a look at the accommodation. And I mentioned the cooling, or the extra cool space, and this is where we find, as an option, a full-size domestic fridge freezer. That is just not the sort of option you expect to see on a boat like this, and those who use their boats a lot, I'm sure, will really appreciate that feature. Now a word on the woodwork, because I think it's absolutely lovely. A new option again, I believe. It's Nero Legner gloss wood, a cost option, but I think it looks absolutely lovely. You know, it's dark but glossy, you can see the grain, really modern. It just looks really, really cool. Let's check out the cabin options now. This is a 3-cabin boat. There is a 2-cabin version, and you can either have the galley down with a smaller sofa, or you can have the galley up with a bigger sofa. 3-cabin option I suspect will be quite popular just because of the flexibility it gives you in terms of sleeping space, and the 3rd cabin is a twin. They've got some of the covers lined up here, as you can see, but you've basically got 2 of these berths, and it's a nice cabin. Headroom's good. I've got plenty of space in here, 6 foot tall. There's a good slice of hull window, so natural light isn't too bad. That is a potential downside of this dark woodwork. It could feel dark, but there's good natural light down here, so thankfully it doesn't. Storage is pretty decent as well. A nice big wardrobe in this cabin, and there's another option here. So this connects to a utility space, which again gives this boat better live aboard potential. Just something you don't expect to see on a boat of this style or size. You've got your washer, dryer in there, space for laundry, you can fold your clothes up there. The other option is you can have an ensuite in here to this cabin. You're opposite the dayhead, so it's completely personal preference, of course, but I think that utility is quite useful, and it also acts as extra storage for this cabin. Of course, you want 3 cabins, 3 bathrooms, you can do that. If you have the utility though, this is the dayhead and the bathroom that cabin will use, just across the passageway, and it's really nice actually. Finish in here is lovely. High quality components like Tecmar toilets, Villeroy Bosch sinks, rain showers in the separate shower cubicle. Very, very nicely executed. And remember, you can have a look around. I'm just putting the camera in here. You can control the screen and have a look at whatever you like. So that's the day ahead. If we move forward, we find the VIP. And I just mentioned how bright it is down here. That's the other thing about having this design. The sunroof open or closed, you've got light coming down into this companionway. Again, if it wasn't this bright, the dark wood could feel a bit oppressive, but it doesn't because they've managed to get so much natural light in here. Works brilliantly. Right, the VIP, right forward. This has got scissor action berths. So these are two separate berths that you just pull apart. It's all manual, but you can make them into a double or two twins in a matter of seconds. You've got the blind down on the starboard side, so you can see how that looks, but on the port side the blind is up, and again there's a good amount of natural light from a big window and opening ports. There's also a skylight right forward. Obviously it's clear of the sunbathing space, so it's not in the middle of the cabin, but it's right over where you sleep, so you get some nice ventilation from that, and obviously a little bit of natural light as well. There are big hanging wardrobes on both sides. They sort of disappear this dark wood, but they're nicely concealed. And then likewise the TV. You almost don't notice it's there, but there is a big TV on that bulkhead. And then this cabin has a private ensuite. Well, I should say private ensuite access to the dayhead. So it has its own access. So guests don't have to go out into the lobby to use this. The people in this cabin are directly connected to the dayhead. And then if we move amidships, we come to the owner's cabin. On the port side as you come in, you have the private owner's ensuite. This is completely private. There's only access in here from this cabin. And it's similarly kitted out to the others. Big separate shower cubicle, the rain shower head, the nice components, smoked hull window inside the shower, and then a clear one inside the bathroom. So again, natural light is good, and there's plenty of storage as well actually. Another option is to have a wine fridge. If you just pan down towards floor level, you'll see there's a wine fridge in this cabin, again boosting the cooling space. And if we drop down, we come into the cabin itself. I'll just hover around in the middle so you can have a look around. But this is lovely. There are little lips as you go around the bed, so that just raises the floor height a bit. But even there, if I stand up, I've still got clearance above my head. If you're 6'3", 6'4", you're going to be stooping. But in the middle of the cabin, when you drop down, you should be just fine. And again, I really like the decor in here. The bed head, the uplighters, the map lights, reading lights either side of the bed itself, which is a good size. On the starboard side, there's a bureau on top of what is even more storage. You've got the TV mounted up on the bulkhead. And then on the port side, even more storage. I believe there would be the option to have either a sofa here or a breakfast dinette. It's almost storage overkill. It needs a little bit of, I guess, livening up with some different furniture, in my opinion. So a sofa or a dinette there, I think, would work really well. But it's a lovely, lovely cabin. And I really like the interior decor. The white flooring, the darker woods of the panelling and the doors, all the dark door handles and everything look and feel really high quality. Even things like the stainless steel strip that runs down the middle of the doors. It's all so nicely done. Well, that's the interior. The last place then to check out is the engine room. Engine room access then. That is via a hatch here in the cockpit. Simply pops up. And then there's ladder access down into the space itself. Now they've stashed a few of the covers down here to open up the boat for me, so you can see there's a few covers on the floor. And one of the things you're going to notice immediately is that there is quite a big intrusion from the tender garage, as is always going to be the case if you've got a tender garage. The important thing is though, over the engines, because they're obviously either side, space is actually pretty good. I'll just extend the camera and point you down the port side one now. You can see actually it's pretty easy to get around that engine and inspect it, and then getting down towards the back end of the engine room is also quite easy. It's just in the middle where you have to account for the tender garage, and actually underneath that is where they've fitted the Seakeeper and generator. So the generator's forward, and then after that, right down the back, is the Seakeeper. And I can see that you can actually remove the floor of the tender garage. So if you need to take the Seakeeper out for any reason or do major works on the generator, you can remove the tender garage floor and give yourself or your engineer much better access I'll just pop the camera down the starboard side. See the stainless steel fuel tanks on either side. Actually, if I really extend this, you should be able to see the IPS pod. That's the starboard side pod, and there's really great access to that. Sometimes you see those tucked away underneath false floors, underneath crew cabins. See, this boat doesn't have a crew cabin, but you can get to those pods so easy. It's just as important to be able to check and service them as it is the engines on a boat like this, so that's really important. And when you first drop down here, headroom is really very good. So pretty crowded in the middle, but it's nicely executed. There's lots and lots of insulation down here. As an owner-run boat, it's a pretty good space, just a bit cramped down the middle. Right, let's head out. Right, there you have it. That is the Sunseeker Predator 55. I do hope you enjoyed that tour. Please give the video a like if you did, and if you've not subscribed to Yacht Buyer 360, please do. This is a totally separate channel to the main Yacht Buyer channel where we do our usual tours and sea trials. This is something a bit different. Give us some feedback below. Let me know what you think about the boat and the video. And remember, you can do all your research on this boat and others on yachtbuyer.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.